Hello, hello, hello everyone. Just a quick tutorial on how to do butterfly ear hooks. When you're mixing it for this particular tutorial, you want pretty much most of the colors, if not all of them, in one cut, which is incredibly hard because you have to make sure that when you're putting it through the pasta machine and mixing it, that it has to be the size of your cutter, whichever way you plan to use it. If you plan to use this the long way, then you need to get your cut or your blend even shorter or thinner, you know, however you want to describe it. So the easiest way that I find mixing my rainbows together is to mix 3 colors together and then blend those 2 colors together and mix it down the middle. So that just makes it easier to get it shorter and shorter. But alas, I chose to use some pastel colors. These are kind of mixed together. I mix them so that I get the exact color that I want. I love rainbow, but I'm very, very partial to pastel rainbows. And so these are the colors that I chose and the order that I chose. I always either put purple on the end or green on the end. Just depends on how I feel when I'm creating my blends. Today, purple and blue are on the end. So you can see I have 2 blends before me. I also have my little ear mold right here if you need that still on there. But anyway, you can find these ear molds. They are great for helping you create these. Also, you'll want some kind of a sturdy wire that you can curl. And you do that by either using an ear mold or printing out a picture of an ear. You can print the ear and then mold the wire to the ear, or you can use your own ear. So there's 3 different options that you can use. You don't have to have this. This you probably do want, and you do want something sturdy. Probably an 18 gauge is really good. 16 gauge is fairly good too. But anyway, you want it to retain its curls so that you know exactly what you're doing. It's going to be your template, okay? So I'm going to show you 2 types of butterfly ear hooks. They're very easy, very super fast to make once you get your blend down. All you really need is your blade to cut. Anything that you want to use as far as maybe paint. As you can see, I used a little bit of paint in that one. I used paint on this and this as well. And of course, you can see the mica powder. How can I not use mica powder? Sparkles all the way, right? Okay, so if you guys have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to ask. If I don't answer you, or I don't catch the question now, I probably will later, because I try to go on and make sure that I see any questions that are asked. Basically, it's super easy. You have your butterfly template or butterfly cutter. For the large one, I use the 3-inch butterfly cutter. I love both the wings, both styles of the wings, but I have to admit that I'm probably more partial to this one right here because I just kind of play around with it, with this design. Now, I have both my blends set to a thickness of 3, just like I would on the using the epoxy clay. You can use a thickness of 4 if you want, but thickness of 3 is more than enough. 4 is nice and thin. Now, if you want to do a set of matching ear cuffs, you can do that. I have to admit, I've only sold a couple of pairs of matching ear hooks or ear wraps. Whatever I make in that realm, I usually only sell 1. So they usually only want 1. But I do have a deal where if they buy 2, they get a discount. So they do tend to be more popular around Halloween just because people, you know, they love to wear these types of things around Halloween a little more free going. I'm just gonna, I don't want to have to pull out my opposite cutter on my butterflies, so I just decided to cut it out with the same cutter, and I'm just going around the edges and softening them up. If there's anything rough around the edges, I can take care of that now. And then you will also need your ear hook. Now, I have shown you different ways how to do these over the years, and mostly I've shown you how to use wire when doing these. I'm going to go ahead and move the camera just a little bit so you can see where I'm at right here. I've made one little cut here. I'm going to lay this right on top of the other one because I just want a rather thick strip here. And I'm going to need 3 of these. So I'm going to show you the matching wings, and then I'm also going to show you the little butterflies, which were the hit. The little butterflies were popular with I would say tweenies at my market. They love the big butterfly wings, but it was the little butterflies, these right here, that got the most attention. Like I said, these are super easy. You just get your little strip right there, and then you start working it into a worm. And that's where your template's going to come in handy. And you're going to tip the ends. Essentially what you're doing is you're making a noodle that is an estimated about 5.5 to 6 inches. And I'm just going to do this until the lines that join them are smooth. Kind of gives a little hippie look with the colors mixing together the way they do. And then once I have that, now it is handy to have a piece of wax paper just to do this over the top of. Just so that you can see your hook underneath. And what you're going to do is just make sure that the tip just kind of curls back onto itself, and you're going to do the opposite for the next one, for the other ear. And you just lay that down. All right, now 6.5 or 6 inches is more than enough to create your loop. So if you have more than 6.5 inches, just loop it back onto itself. It doesn't have to be exact. Now, before you place your butterfly on your little S curve, you want to decorate it first. Just because if you're going to be putting any dents or anything like that in there, you don't want it to kind of mess around on that ear hook part while you're doing that. So again, I'm just going to soften the edges. And I get my favorite little tool here, and I just like to whatever you do to one, if you're going to be making matching ones, just keep in mind that you don't want to do so much that you can't exactly copy it on both sides. So again, you can do this in any color you want, but there's always a clamor for rainbow, and I can't help but always come back to rainbow. So I hope you guys like this. I realize that it's rather simple, but because we did the epoxy clay, which was a little fun on not having to pull our regular clay out. So that's always nice, getting to use beads and stuff that we can't implement in clay because they're not really made to go in our ovens. Some beads anyway. All right, so when it comes to painting or anything else, I tend to do that on the when I put it on the ear hook. But definitely, if you plan to do any little dots or divots and stuff, I highly recommend doing those before placing it on to your ear hook. Now, I do tend to make messes with my little lines and stuff here because it's hard to get everything exactly matching. But don't hesitate. If you mess up, if you're new to clay, all you got to do is pet your clay back into place, and then just make sure you go in both directions so that you don't cause your clay to go in one direction or the other, and then slowly go back over your line that you wanted to make, as opposed to the line that sometimes the clay kind of just pushes you in off and you're wondering how in the heck I was going in one direction and it pushed me in the other. So you just put it on your ear hook. You can put it on this way or this way, and you'll know which way. If it's at the top, it's going to be up here, and if it's back here, it's going to be here. So I want it right there. And I am going to kind of curve this to go around, just like that. And now I need my other one for the other side. Oops. All right. Just take your template underneath. All right, take your other butterfly wing. Now, I will take this off my wax paper and put this on my tile, because if I bake this on the wax paper, the back of my my ear cuff or my ear hook here will actually pick up the shiny waxy part of the paper. Now, that's not a big deal if you go ahead and sand the back of these, which I do recommend doing, because sometimes the backs can have a little more debris than you anticipate when you're working with this. So do check on that. But also, you're going to need your cardboard to kind of, when you're baking, set this up at an angle. And the reason I do this is because, as you can see this one right here, when it's laying flat, it's just like that. It's bent upward. And that's so that when you put it on the ear, that it actually shows up from the head and the hair. So it'll actually stick out on somebody's head just ever so slightly. Actually, it looks like it's going to stick out a lot, but it doesn't. It actually sticks out slightly. So I'm going to put this off to the side because I will paint this after it's done. I tend to like to paint a little after than before, because it's easier to wipe off mistakes on cooked clay than it is regular non-cooked clay, in my opinion. Especially when I have little crevices that I've made for the texture. The paint can get inside that, and it's easier to wipe that out when it's cooked clay. So again, I'm just making my noodle. Now, if you're already experienced with making these, then you really don't need to have the wax paper when you're using polymer clay. And that's because, unless you're working like with really, really sticky clay, you're not going to have too much problems being able to mimic the wire and not stick to it, just like this. So I'll put it on my my tile that I would bake on normally, and then I would do this right on my tile. And then I'll just put this right over the top, and it pretty much matches, except for this right here needs to be a little bit more. Pay attention to your template. Don't exaggerate and don't underdo your template, because that's what's going to make it fit your ear the best, okay? Just like this. Perfect match. Okay, so for the little butterflies, it's super fun. These don't really need to be a thickness of 3. They can actually be a thickness of 4, which I'm going to go ahead and do. I have more of this strip than I really need. All right, so you remember me saying if you want all of the colors in one cut, you have to make your blend really, really tiny. Well, if you're going to be using these tiny little butterflies, you are going to have to make a strip that is less than 1 inch long. And so that it's incredibly hard to do. So what I do recommend is, instead of trying to get all of the colors on one, do a gradual step up of your butterfly, because you're going to need more than one cut anyway. And with this particular one, I recommend doing about 4 cuts. These are super easy, just like the other butterflies. You can choose to add some details or not. Again, these are a thickness of 4. And these are just the daintiest, tiniest little butterflies that you ever did see. And like I said, these were the most popular ones. And I like to put them on kind of the opposite color of what it's on. So if I have purple there, I think I'm going to put yellow to the purple. And then I have the kind of the orangey right there. All right, so this last one, I forgot I wanted to do the opposite direction, and I'm going to use the little butterfly with the tail. And let's see, that one had pink and a little bit of green. Ooh, I lost my tail because I pulled too quick, but that's okay. All right, I forgot to put some little texture on here. All right, so you can put 3 or 4, however many butterflies that you want that you think will stick, but these were definitely the popular ones of my market. So as you can see, this was a super quick demo of a really pretty, you can actually put this directly on the cardboard too if you wanted to, so that you can get your butterflies to kind of stick up. As you can see, I'm messing around with that loop a whole lot, but that's just because I'm going to take my wire, I'm going to come back in here and make sure before I start baking that's exactly where I wanted it to be. Exactly. All right, so this one doesn't really need to be peeking out. It's just going to kind of lay against the head there. And all these butterflies are going to kind of just poke out ever so slightly. So that's pretty much it right there, guys. Once they're baked and they're on there, you can add extra details like this little black vine that I put there. You can outline the butterfly in black and paint it. Whatever you guys feel like doing. The rainbow butterfly is definitely, I will tell you, that was the winner of the day. And it wasn't these big ones, it was the little ones that I ended up selling the most of. So Although I didn't like sell out or anything like that, but I did sell a majority of these little ones over the big ones. So I hope you guys enjoyed this little tiny quick tutorial. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend and continue creating and getting out there and having fun and doing festivals and doing whatever it is that you love to make polymer clay for. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Bye-bye.